Sorry.
Joining me is that's okay,
There
Kelly. Yep, joining me today is my colleague Stephanie Cumley, and she is our education engagement coordinator, and she is making sure that all our tech stuff runs smoothly. So go ahead, Steph, if you want to introduce yourself.
Yeah, thanks very much for everyone for having us today. We're excited to get started. If you have any questions along the way, just leave them in the chat and we'll be able to answer them after the session has completed.
We will be using a poll feature in this to add a little bit of interactivity to today's session. So just look out for it. You'll just be able to, it should pop up on your screen and you'll just be able to answer a couple of simple yes or no questions about what you're seeing and some scenarios that we've designed. Okay. Next slide there, Steph. All right. As you may or may not be aware, Ontario One Call is a public safety administrative authority delegated by the province of Ontario to administer the Ontario Underground Infrastructure Notification Systems Act. We are the link between excavators who want to dig and the people who own underground pipes and cables. We monitor and enforce compliance of this act, and we are really unique in Ontario, in North America, as the only notification system with no regulatory powers. We also have a mandate to promote safe digging in this province, and when the system is used properly, the locate process does this by reducing damages, delays, and injuries. However, Ontario One Call cannot deliver safe digging on its own. Safety is a shared responsibility, as I'm sure you're all aware, and our mandate only works when industry partners like the AOS and all of you play their part. Despite what many people think, even those in the construction industry, Ontario One Call does not mark the location of any underground infrastructure. That responsibility lies with the people who own the pipes and cables. We do not employ locators, and we have no direct control of the delivery of the locate responses. We're not an excavation company. We don't own bulldozers or backhoes or vacuum trucks. We don't issue permits. That's normally taken care of by the city or the municipality. But we act as the communication link between the excavator and the infrastructure owner, and we operate on a cost recovery model to ensure that we balance public safety and fiscal responsibility. In 2025, we commissioned research amongst Ontario residents from a third-party research company. We wanted to both examine awareness of Ontario One Call, but also how that awareness was translating into behaviors. So for this presentation, we've further refined that data to explore the road construction sector in particular, and do some comparisons to province-wide averages. It's important to note that the sample size here is a little on the small side, but so please treat these results as directional rather than statistically conclusive. But I do think they're an interesting jumping off point. So starting with the good. 82% of road construction respondents said that they always assessed the hazards of a job site. That is up from the 59% average. And that's 7% more, and they're 7% more likely to say that they know which jobs require a locate request. However, that knowledge doesn't seem to be translating into behaviors, since they are 13% more likely to report striking buried infrastructure once. Now, if we define high-risk individuals as somebody who either did not request a locate for their last digging project or did not know whether or not they requested one for any digging project in 2025, then the road construction sector has the largest share of people in this high-risk group at 38%. In fact, it's the highest of any other trade type. So these numbers indicate why we're reaching out to you today. Now, 72% of the road construction sector saying that they know which job requires a locate request is a great starting point. It still leaves some room for improvement. So we'd like to play a little game called Do They Need to Make a Locate Request? And I'm going to provide you with a scenario, and you get to decide whether or not a locate request is required. So, Kelly, if you when I finish here, if you can pull up the poll so that we can take take the answers. So this is work that I can see you guys performing all the time, you and your crews. Somebody's gone and they've damaged a guardrail and the posts, and you need to replace those posts, and you're going to put this post in the same hole that they came out of. So, do you think you need a locate request for this one? Got some people coming in. Okay. All right. So I think that might be everybody there, Kelly. So, okay. So it is a common misconception that if you're putting a new pole back in the same hole, that a locate request is not required. But this is false. Any ground disturbance, including same hole replacements, requires that you submit a locate request. So congratulations if you answered correctly. All right, next one. So how about this? We're removing the asphalt in preparation for repaving. What do you think? Do you need a locate request here? That one up there? I can't see it on my, did it come up, Kelly?
Yeah. Right now it's a
50-50.
50-50 split.
Okay, 50-50. Okay. All right. Do you want to?
Yeah.
Ah, there it is. Okay, there we go. Okay, so we're at 50-50. So again, those of you who said that a locate request is required are correct. This is another example of a job that many people feel is exempt from making a locate request because the dig will be so shallow. It's important to remember that no matter the depth, no matter the size of the excavation, you always need to click before you dig. We got one last one for us. And again, especially this time of year, I expect a lot of your crews may be busy filling hot potholes. So does filling of potholes require a locate request? Anybody? Fantastic. All right. Okay. In this case, because you're simply adding materials, you do not need a locate request. However, if at any point you need to remove materials to repair the hole, you're going to need to submit a locate request. And since you never know whether a pothole will need to be repaired before you fill it, it is best practice to submit your locate request to avoid project delays. Okay.
Basil, maybe
So
just pop in.
Yeah, sure.
I'll just pop in. We just had one question come into the chat, and it was in regards to grading a road. Sorry, I'm just pulling up the chat here now. When grading the road and you uncover buried bell cable, is the need for a request necessary?
Yes. Yes, it is. Yeah. Anytime you break ground in Ontario, per the legislation, you do need a locate request. So as soon as you're putting anything into the ground that's lifting up the ground, we need a locate request. So in that case, grading, you do need a locate request.
And thank you very much to whoever that was. I will add that to my list of possible scenarios to quiz on the next time. Now that we have a clearer idea of what actions require you to submit a locate request, I'd like to briefly cover what the locate request process entails. You may do this yourself. You may have somebody else do this on your behalf. But having a better understanding of the process is going to give you a clearer sense of the risks involved in not submitting a locate request or providing incorrect information. The whole process is triggered when you tell Ontario One Call that you want to disturb the ground by making a locate request. Ontario One Call takes that information that you provide on your locate request and compares it with mapping provided by underground infrastructure owners. If the system determines that buried infrastructure might be at risk, we will then notify those infrastructure owners, and you will receive a list via email of all the people that we have notified. Before you can start digging, you need to receive a response from every single infrastructure owner that is on your list. Who is notified will vary according to your dig, but it could include gas pipes, communication cables, electricity, even water and sewer pipes. Now, if nothing's buried, the process is going to be very quick. But if you do have something buried beneath your feet, then you really want to know about it. And then once you think you're ready to begin, you should review all of your locate documents. You need to ensure all the required locate responses have been received. You need to match paint or flags to the maps provided on the paperwork. You need to follow any additional guidelines as set out by the infrastructure owners. And of course, you have to dig safely. Let's start with the first step in more detail. Now, like I said, the whole process starts with the locate request. The first step in making a locate request is to go to our website, ontarioonecall.ca, and click the Request a Locate button. If you don't already have one, you're going to need to create a contractor account. And once that's complete, you're ready to tell Ontario One Call about where, why, and how you want to dig. The system's going to ask you for an address and a nearest intersection. You're going to also be required to make a map selection on an aerial view of the property. And if you're working on large areas, it benefits everybody if you break them into smaller locate requests. So, for example, if you're making a locate request for 3 city blocks, and there is an issue anywhere along that, there you have a broken tracer wire, something happens, it doesn't matter what, you're not going to be able to start digging on that excavation at all. However, if you submitted 3 smaller requests, one for each block, then that same issue is only going to delay work on one section, and you're going to be able to start digging on the rest. And that should help to keep your projects on track. You're also going to need to provide us with information on the type of work being done, such as repaving or installing guardrails, and how deep you want to dig. Now, 2 items on a locate request that I want to bring attention to, since they are sections that people often get confused on. The first is method of excavation. Your choices are going to be hand dig, machine dig, or hydrovac. Now, we consider hand dig to be shovel or spade only. Every other method is considered to be machine dig. So that would include a hand-powered auger and a post-hole digger. Those are machine digs. Another commonly misunderstood portion is whether or not you're digging on private property or public property or both. Service lines are designated as public when the utility company providing the service is responsible for installation and maintenance of the transmission lines. This designation ends at the demarcation point, which is typically a valve, a meter, or the transformer, but it doesn't have to be. Transmission of service beyond this point is the responsibility of the end consumer, and we refer to this part of the service as a private utility. These private lines will not typically be located by Ontario One Call service and must be marked by a private locator. So for example, if you were doing road work and it involved a large commercial parking lot, such as for a mall or maybe a condo complex, the demarcation point is going to be the property line, and you would need private locates if you wanted to excavate beyond that. Now, once you've successfully submitted your locate request, you will receive a confirmation email from Ontario One Call. This document summarizes the information provided about your dig, as well as gives you some information on next steps, so please take the time to read it. For purposes of this presentation, the most important part is the listing of infrastructure owners, they're called members within this email, that have been notified on your locate request. And that leads us to the next step, which is receive. Now, before you can dig, for every infrastructure owner listed in your confirmation email, you must either receive a clearance or locate documentation. A clear or clearance is a written statement from the infrastructure owner indicating that they have determined that we do not have infrastructure that will be affected by your dig. They also have to inform you how long that clearance is valid for, and the minimum is 60 days, but it can be longer. Locate documentation is paperwork from the infrastructure owner showing, amongst other things, a map or drawing of the location of their infrastructure. Locate documentation will always be accompanied by markings on the ground, and this could be paint or flags. Locate documentation must also list its validity, which again by our regulations is a minimum of 60 days. So, how long do you need to put in before you dig, do you need to put in a locate request? If you are doing a single civic address with limited area, you can submit a standard request 5 days before you plan to dig. Homeowners are the most likely group to use this type of locate request, but it is available to everybody. Underground infrastructure owners must respond to that request within 5 days. You're going to need an advanced request if you meet any of the following criteria. You have a large excavation area, the area you're working on spans more than one civic address or has no civic address attached to it, or if your work extends into the public right-of-way. You'll need to submit these locate requests 10 days before you plan to dig, and owners will need to respond within those 10 days. Now, if you had a water pipe burst in the middle of winter, you wouldn't want to wait 5 or 10 days to fix it. This is a likely candidate for an emergency locate request. Emergency requests are reserved for a loss of essential services that could result in imminent or significant safety or environmental hazards, or an imminent threat to person or the public. You have to call Ontario One Call if you need an emergency locate request, and infrastructure owners must send you a clearance or have somebody on site to start marking infrastructure within 2 hours. It may take some adjustment to start planning before you dig, but it is the law that you click before you dig, no matter how big, no matter how small. And remember, if there's nothing there, it's going to be a less than a 10-day process. And if there is, don't you want to know about it? Now, despite serving over 800 infrastructure owners, some entities are not required to be part of the Ontario One Call system. This would include any federal, provincial, or First Nations governments, as well as the private locate responses that we already touched upon. What this means is that their utilities may not appear in the members contacted list on your locate confirmation, and they are not bound by the same legal timelines. If your project involves government-owned or Indigenous territory lands, you're going to need to contact the relevant department, ministry, or tribe directly to obtain separate utility locates. For example, the Ministry of Transportation for highways and road projects, or First Nation band offices for projects on Indigenous land. Failure to do so could mean digging without proper locates, increasing the risks of utility damage, project delays, and enforcement actions. And that finally leads us to our last step, which is to review. If you think you are ready to review, the last step is to review in order to ensure compliance. So ask yourself, have I received a response from every single infrastructure owner that Ontario One Call notified? If not, please wait till you do. Ask yourself, does the paint and flags match the map provided in the paperwork? If not, contact the infrastructure owner who has the mismatch. Their contact information is going to be on that first page of their locate documentation. If the paint or flags have been removed, you cannot match paper to paper, and you're going to need to make a new locate request and wait for new responses. Now, if the paint is faded, however, you please work with the infrastructure owner to maintain your markings. Ask yourself, is this locate response still valid? And if it's not, don't dig. Please request a new locate. Ask yourself, do I need to dig outside of the area or deeper than I said that I would? And if you do, you need to stop digging and request a new locate with new information. Now, if everything looks good, then you can follow the instructions as laid out by the infrastructure owners and make sure to dig safely. What happens to people who don't follow our Act and regulations? As we've already discussed, as the regulator under the Ontario Underground Infrastructure Notification Systems Act, we are responsible for ensuring compliance with this Act. In 2025, Our most frequent contraventions were excavator focused and public safety related, and they involved digging without a locate and digging in an unsafe manner. Digging without a locate involves actions such as not making a locate request to Ontario One Call before digging, or not waiting until you received responses from every underground infrastructure owner before digging. Digging in an unsafe manner might mean an excavator had a locate request from everyone, but failed to follow the instructions from the owner, or did not follow the information they provided on the locate request, like changing from hand tools to machine dig, or digging deeper than they had indicated on their locate request. We also ensure that owners provide their responses to the excavators. So if you've placed a locate request and they have not responded to you within the legal time frame, and you're not making any progress when you contact the owner directly, then please, we encourage you to submit a complaint to Ontario One Call for a late locate response. The specifics of every complaint are going to be different, but the basic complaint process works like this. First, we need the complaint in writing. We can't take verbal complaints. And you can do this with our online complaints form on our website. Next, a member of our Compliance and Industry Performance, or CAPE team, will verify that the complaint is valid. And then once verified, the CAPE team will reach out to the infrastructure owner and take actions to resolve the late locate. The owner will have 5 days to resolve the issue and provide you with your locate response. And if they hadn't, then you should contact the CAPE team again and they can take further action. When they do need to take further action, our CAPE team has a number of disciplinary actions available to them. And when deciding which ones to use, they're going to take into consideration the number of past complaints or contraventions, the risk associated with the incident, and the attitude of the contravening party towards compliance. One of the most common escalations that we see is an educational disposition, and this involves the contravening party having to take, at their own expense, a specially designed education course. They might offer the offending party a formal warning letter, or in more severe cases, a formal reprimand. The CAPE team might also decide that an administrative penalty might be a better choice, and the maximum monetary penalty is $10,000 per contravention, and we are required to provide on our website, to publish on our website, all people who receive administrative monetary penalties. And lastly, any contravention under the Act may be subject to consideration for prosecution. However, prosecutions are primarily used for instances in which an excavator has excavated in an unsafe manner. As we look at how safety improves across the industry, training and collaboration play a critical role. It's never a bad time to ensure that you and your crews are prepared. Ontario Calls groundwork and no-risk courses are now available on a new learning platform designed to make training easier and more accessible. The courses are self-paced and modular, so they can be completed when time allows, and they focus on the fundamentals that matter on-site, including safe digging practices, compliance requirements, and how to submit accurate locate requests. These courses now offer digital badges that can be used on professional profiles and company websites. Specifically, groundwork is designed to build confidence amongst industry professionals in using Ontario One Call's web portal to submit locate requests. No Risk is built to teach about different risky behaviors, the consequences of those behaviors, not just to yourself and your company, but to all of Ontario, and then it gives some tools to help. Whether or not you're new to Ontario One Call or has used our services before, our goal is to help you build knowledge so that you can work safely and efficiently throughout this dig season. To thank you for attending today, we'd like to offer you 15% off groundwork or no risk by using the code AORS WEB at checkout. And Steph's going to talk about some other things that we're doing for outreach.
So thank you everybody for listening to Beth talk. I hope you got some valuable knowledge out of this webinar. If you have any questions, good news, I will be at the AORS trade show. Come by to the booth if you're attending and come say hello. I'd be happy to meet and greet your faces. And if you have any further questions about this or anything else about Ontario One Call, I'd be happy to answer them in person. And then other than that, that's pretty much it for me. That's my little pitch for today. So if you're going to the AORS trade show, I'll hope to see you there.
We did have one additional question toward the end.
We do have some questions. Yeah, I saw.
Sure, yeah, great.
Yep, which I'll read out. The question asks, are locates necessary when installing signage, new channel posts, etc., on the roadside with a post pounder?
Yes.
So the answer
Yeah.
is yes. That would constitute ground disturbance for sure.
Yeah.
And having replied to that question, thank you, Shane, for the question. We have a bit of time if there's any other questions that come up.
Yeah, we can definitely also make sure to provide this in a PDF format so that you guys can have a copy. I can send it to Kelly and Kelly can decide how to distribute it.
Hi, I have a question for Stephanie.
Yeah, go right ahead.
Ann Carr, Municipality of Calvin.
Nice to
Last
meet
year
you.
we had a very bad storm and probably took out about 30 culverts, washed them all out, including Bell infrastructure with the
Okay.
culverts.
Okay.
Honestly, at that point, we don't care about Bell infrastructure being in the ground. We buried their broken cable. A couple months down the road, they discover one fax machine's not working in someone's facility. We
Right.
get dinged with the bill for the Bell cable being damaged.
Okay.
My question, I guess, truly is we had a contractor doing the job. Is the excavator responsible or the project owner responsible, or are we both equally responsible?
Yeah, that's an excellent question. I think for that, you would have to go, and we'd be happy to get you in touch with our Cape team to better understand the logistics of that. Each case is like specific to its environment. I do know that we have partnered with the ORCGA for the dirt report, and reporting your damaged infrastructure is the best way for us to understand how damages happen, where people see the most damages occur and why. And that better gives us information on where we can apply our limited resources. But for you, for that specific situation, I would definitely, if you have, and this is coming from me from when I was in the call center, if you would have called the call center and say, hey, we had 30 culverts, Bell's damaged infrastructure is everywhere, we would advise you in the call center to call the infrastructure owner, so call Bell and notify them of the damage first. And then as you're going to repair it or as you're going to cover that up, you're letting them know that this is what you have to do in order to make it safe for public infrastructure to go through. But as far as who's liable for the damage and who gets the bill at the end of the day, I would have to direct you to the Cape team.
Excellent. Thanks for that.
My pleasure. Any other questions? Okay. I want to thank everybody for attending. We really appreciate it. Again, reach out to education@ontarioonecall.ca if you have any further questions. And then back to you, Kelly.
Yeah, again, thanks everyone for joining us, and a special thank you to the Ontario One Call team for this. As you noticed, we are recording, and Beth has graciously offered to send over the presentation. And so once we get that all uploaded at the end of the week, once all our webinars are over, we will be sending out the links to all of these, to all of those who registered. So that way, if you want to take this back to other teammates or your colleagues that you think that could use this information, feel free to spread the word. So thank you again. And we do have two webinars tomorrow, one at 11 o'clock with Good Roads talking about low volume roads, and then one at 1 o'clock with Low Strategy Consulting talking about building a better and safer human resources culture in order to talk about the abuse and harassment that's happening in municipal public works. And then on Friday, we have the Ministry of Transportation with harmonization of municipal standards. If you'd like the links to any of those, just contact me directly. But thanks again to Ontario One Call, and we hope to see you the rest of the week at the rest of our webinars. Have a great day, everyone.
Thank you,
Bye,
everyone.
everyone. Thank you.